Thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Vivian Degwa, and right now we get into a conversation that is quite a heavy conversation and at the same a very needed conversation, and that is the topic on Arson, specifically school arson attacks that we have been witnessing over the years in this country, and we're just trying to look at what is going on, and specifically where are we going wrong and what can we do that will be right, and what are the gaps that can be filled. And specifically we are trying to just look around rethinking safety in our schools. How do we rethink safety beyond the fire extinguishers, beyond the buildings, beyond just all together? That is what we are trying to just look at today, and try and put the puzzles together to try and sort this arson enigma. We are calling it an enigma because it's mysterious. It's really puzzling, and it seems like it is difficult for us to sort this. You know, and I am more than pleased to be joined by Hesbon Odhiambo, who's the Head Emergency Operations Center, Kenya Red Cross Society. Welcome to the program, Hesbon.
Thank you very much.
And I also have with me right here Jackson Mutunga, who's the Training Programs Manager, St. John Ambulance, Kenya. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I don't know where we should start with this conversation, because I feel like it's a conversation we always have, and unfortunately we usually have these conversations after an incident has happened. That is when we put all our you know, all our attention there, we talk about it, and then goes silent again. Something again happens, we're back at it. So let me begin with, where are we going wrong specifically? Just from your point of view. Let me begin with you, Jackson.
Okay, thank you. And in fact, these are very worrying state when it comes to school fires, regardless of the cause, because people will lose lives and also disruption of learning activities. So looking at the theme and surrounding that issue of extinguishers, going beyond that, we need to prepare in a good time to ensure that extinguishers are the last line of defense when it comes to fire response. So we have to look at how can we ensure fire don't start, and number two, in case it is a arson situation, how can we do to survive? Because now we have the fire with us. So what are the best strategies we can put in place to ensure our kids, while out there learning, they are safe? Okay. Because it is also worrying when you find someone is lighting a fire, fellow students are sleeping. So what has got into them? Of course, we know the effects of fire. So for someone to actually do it, you'll have to look more than just extinguishers. Is it a sense of belonging they are looking for? Are they isolated? Something mental, so that we can try and see how we can better their thinking and also their learning, and also the care for others, yes, because it is actually worrying,
Very worrying. We'll get into that. Maybe Hesbon, where are we going wrong?
Well, thank you very much, Vivian. And first of all, is to just send our condolences to those who have lost their loved ones during these recent fires that have occurred, or rather all the fires that have occurred across the country, and specifically to those who have recently lost their lives in the Utumishi school. We want to say a very big pole to the ones that are already in hospital and still receiving treatment, and those parents who have lost their children also. It's a very saddening situation to find you as a parent losing a child, sometimes even an only child, and it's really, really disheartening. So first of all, I think where we are going wrong is probably the focus, where we are focusing from, because what we normally see whenever an incident happens, just like you said, people run towards looking at the hardware. You know, do you have the extinguishers? Do you have this? Do you have the fire engine? Do you have all the physical infrastructure that has been put in place in an institution is what we run to do. But first of all, we normally say that as much as the extinguishers can extinguish the fire itself, then there's also systems that are put in place to be able to prevent the fire itself. And the other aspect that I would also say that we could focus on is basically understanding why it is happening, so that we can also look at the cases and prevent them, or rather prevent recurrence in the next, maybe in the next phase or something like that. So my mind is just called on understanding why the fires are happening, where we are going wrong in terms of the focus itself, and where we should strengthen our focus, because again, I think even as after the Utumishi fire, another fire occurred the same day. Yeah. This morning, I think there's one that has also occurred somewhere again, I think in Baringo or somewhere. So the fires are continuously coming up, and we should just refocus, sit back and maybe take a step back and do some analysis and understand then how best can we be able to address this situation.
And I want us to stick on that, you know, where do we take our focus? Where do we strengthen our focus rather? You know, because as I mentioned, it's been happening over the years from 1991. You know, we've had the St. Kizito Arson, you know, fire. We've had the Bombolulu girls fire. We've had the Asumbi girls fire. We've had the Enderasha boys fire. We had the Kianguli, which took 67 lives. So, and previously now the Utumishi girls. So this is a conversation that unfortunately we've been having over the years. It's not something that we're starting to talk about now. So where should we strengthen our focus so that we put an end to this finally? You know, because the ones we are mentioning right now are the ones that, you know, the fires happened and lives were lost. But there have been hundreds of fires happening in school. As you mentioned, just the same day there was another school that was burnt down. So where should we strengthen our focus? Is it something, should this start with the parents? Is it the school administration? Is it the school community in general? Just where should our focus be? Are we not listening to the kids more? Or where do we draw the line between listening to them and also the kids being rogue?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'd go with having, let's say, pillars. We'll have pillars. And some of the pillars that we'd have, maybe let me take around 4 pillars. The first one would be what we normally focus on, is we focus on the safety issues, whereby we focus on the hardware itself. The first thing is probably to ensure that we have strengthened our equipment around the schools. Enough assessments, school assessments, safety assessments, infrastructure put in place. We have enough fire extinguishers in place. If not fire extinguishers, we have numbers to call whenever we have this. We have continuous engagement with stakeholders who are responders, St. John's, Red Cross. We have fire departments doing a stock take of what kind of resources we have across nearby our institutions. How fast can they be able to get there? This means having issues like conducting simulation exercises, drills, testing the systems themselves. This is also one part that we really need to strengthen. This is resource heavy, so it's something that, again, I bring into the board of the school, whereby they should sit down to do budgets together to be able to understand what they're going to be able to procure. This calls for the parents to be together and have the same mindset with the community surrounding the school itself, because those are also people who can call for help whenever the school is affected by any situation. Not only fire, but also floods. So we also have a situation whereby we need to look at the mental health of the learning students, the school itself, from staff, from the board members, from the parents. All of us have to have proper psychological strength when it comes to preparedness within the school. We need to agree that this is what we want to do for our school. We need to talk candidly about our weaknesses in that institution. The other pillar that I want to look at is institutional strength itself, whereby do we agree on the table as board members, as parents, as teachers, as learners, and as the community itself, and even the government, that is the national government and county government. So when we have all this in place, then we can be able to come up with a plan to be able to prevent any recurrence in any other institution across the country. Any frameworks that have been put in place that need to be implemented, and there have to be those who are gatekeepers on these frameworks that have been put in place, that they are happening. Then lastly is commitment in terms of ensuring that there's continuity, so that if, let's say I am here today, Hesbon is here today, and Vivian comes in tomorrow, then Vivian will continue with the work that I've been doing, even after I've been moved to another school. When I get to that other school, then I'm going to be able to continue with the work that has already been there, having the same structure, sort of, based on context also, and being able to drive the same agenda across. So that is how I would call it from my end.
Yeah. All right. You wanted to add on to that?
Yes. So something else, when we are looking at all the issues surrounding the school fires, maybe I can add on this. When we look at prevention, I can also talk about prevention, and also something else is to do with now the reactive part of it. So when it comes to the prevention, whether it is arson or electrical force, but now let's base on the arson part of it, we should be able to detect that is not only in school and also even at home, some weird behaviors of the students, and we have well-laid reporting mechanisms so that we can be alert, because a group of students planning something, at least even the students themselves, other students, should be able to report such instances to prevent what has just happened and what is continually happening. And also looking at it's okay we are talking about the extinguishers as the last line of defense, but also we need to look at even the structures of our buildings. You know, for fires happening during the day, we always alert. But now it becomes a nightmare when it happens at night. Everyone is asleep. The alarm has been raised, what to do? And you find if the building doesn't have enough exits, of course what will happen is not good. People will be trapped, they'll suffocate. So we can also have an issue of, now it has started. If it has started, can we actually survive? And that's the need of relooking into enforcing. That's the government and other institutions doing that. At least we are here for help, to help the schools, at least ensure that they align to proper evacuation procedures. And apart from that, we have the drill bit of it. Do you know that a school, in one term, they are supposed to be doing at least 2 drills, probably at the start and during after midterm. At
least 2 drills every term.
Every term. And it might look difficult for someone who doesn't understand that drill. It's a simple drill. It will only take 3 hours and you are done with it. Only 3 hours. So 6 hours in a term.
And it may save lives.
Yes. In a year, how many times? 6 times. So there's this culture of safety we can encourage. So I'm assuming we do it this year. A school decide to do it this year. 6 times. Everyone in the school knows about that. Next year, we do it. Someone who is informed. By the time they get to Form 4, the culture of safety will be in them. And that will be the norm. The bigger brothers and sisters will be taking care of the young ones, who are in Form 1 as they progress into that culture of safety. But unless we be serious and be able to act, it will continue getting worse.
We may continue to be to have this same conversation. And you know the difference between fire incidences and a tragedy is, I believe, maybe, and you will help me on this, is in the response also. You know, the response, we've talked about the infrastructure, we need to make sure there are enough exits and all that, but also the response in terms of, do these students know what to do? That's what you were talking about, that's the drills. So, you know, maybe for someone who's watching right now, just for their safety, in case of any fire, where should I start? Where should I begin?
Okay.
Where to start? Maybe you can take that?
Okay, it's okay. So in case of a fire, number one, we'll have to let the students and everyone understand what happens when a fire starts and how you can raise an alarm. There are many ways of raising an alarm. Someone can shout fire, fire, so that others wake up. And also we have other equipment, either manual or even electric. Once the alarm has been initiated, we are supposed to evacuate immediately.
Yeah.
Everyone is supposed to evacuate. Now, it becomes a little bit tricky when it comes to Arson. Maybe someone has used a flammable fuel to catalyze the fire. So the response time is strained.
Yeah.
So we need to evacuate. And once we evacuate, when we are talking about now the response, the fire engines and all that, it will take time before they get to the scene. 10, 15 minutes, 20. So the bigger question I would also like to ask whoever is watching, what are we doing even before the fire engine has arrived? Because I'm looking at, do you see at any point when we'll have at least one fire engine every 5 kilometers? So of course it will come from far. So we want the school to invest a little, just is not very expensive. Just some elevated water tanks, a pump, a house reel, going for 20,000, covering 30 meters, the minimal one, at least, and train staff, teachers, non-teaching staff, and also look at the school management in terms of the students, the captains, and the responsible students, the bigger ones. In case of any incident, they can be able to take care of the rest. So training, awareness, and the drills. And upon evacuating, there's this issue of going back to save. We appreciate the ones who have done so, but it is not always advisable. You might go in and never to come out because you are not focusing on the safety part of it. You are just thinking of getting in, saving someone, and out again. So if we can encourage that you go to the assembly point, and in case of smoke, also we need to tell the students what to do. You can crawl and to the nearest exit. And maybe the last bit of it before my colleague here adds on something. This confidence, you have heard of stories, students are trapped. They have a lot of fear. They cannot even come out.
Yeah, because there's also panic.
Exactly, a lot of it. And we cannot drive it in one day. So they have to do more drills, more exercises, so that we continue building up. So you can imagine such as students who have gone 2 drills a term. 6 drills a year. So what does that tell us? With time, they are going to gain that confidence. And it will be very easy when it comes to evacuation.
I get you on that, because now they're already used to such drills. So in case of that, of a fire happening, the panic might not be the first thing that comes to mind, because this is something they have been, trained on, So I get where you're going with that. And, I know you want to maybe add on to that. And also, as you do that also, I want us to also still stick on the mental health bit of it. When we look at the mental health bit of these incidences, what should we focus on?
Okay. So I'll pick it up from what my colleague has just talked about, drills and simulation exercises. The thing is, even as we train, this is not only for the students, even for the teachers themselves, their staff, and even the board, the whole administration, including the community, because everyone has a role to play. And he's talked about having an in-house fire suppression system, whereby you have your elevated tanks and knowing what to do at what point. This is very key for us as responders, because if you look back, sometime back, I don't know, it's 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we had a fire along Gong Road, one of the facilities around Adams Arcade, whereby there was a fire and vehicles were on fire, and the fire engines came, but they could not access the place. They had to go around another 2 kilometers, do a roundabout, and come back. By the time they were coming, there was no entry point. So all these things go hand in hand. So it means that if I'm going to establish some structures of emergency evacuation procedures, then there also has to be proper planning of the institution together with this, because I have to allow the fire engine to arrive at the right time, whereby I want to know that this engine is 5 kilometers away. It will take it around 20 minutes or 10 minutes before they arrive here. But before then what am I doing? The other thing is the emergency evacuation procedures have to go with the planning of the dormitory. For example, if it is maybe the dormitory for this case. I can have proper evacuation procedures, but all my beds are squeezed. I only have one person at a time passing through a certain space. So it's the administration to ensure that every standard dormitory has standard measurements for placing of beds and other equipment that is there. And of course, the doorways have to be done with the standard requirements as per the SOPs, and then you give the guidelines. So this now help the students or the persons in that facility when evacuating, then they know that you can go 2-2. The procedure itself also ensures that we have a person who is properly trained, and here we call the fire marshals within the institution. It can either be a staff or it can be one of the students who is trained with advanced skills to ensure that they can marshal the other students calmly to move to the assembly point. He talked about an assembly point. The other question would be, when we leave this place, where do we go? So that you don't have to go back inside again to look for another friend of yours. That's what he was saying. So what we are saying is all these structures go hand in hand. While all this is happening, the community members, an alarm has been raised, and the community members have to also have a role to play. Now, coming to the mental health aspect, all this depend on your mental health stability. This goes from different levels. One, for the students, as they are in school, we have to understand the kind of pressures that they are facing. It can be learning pressures, academic pressure, that is also there. We've heard about these stories on mainstream, whereby we're talking about mocks zinakuja, exams are coming, then what are we going to do? The students are pressurized to be able to pass the exams. We have economical issues from people coming, or students coming from humble communities. They're coming into school that they lack quite a number of supplies. So again, this is there. We also have maybe peer pressure and bullying within the institutions. These are also considerations. We also have maybe institutions having pressure on beating that mean grade, that pass mark for the school. So the teachers are very harsh on the students. They don't rest. 3 a.m. in the morning, they're in class. So all these are things that play around the mental health of the learners or one institution. Lastly is occurrences from other learning institutions. For this case, we're talking about the school fire that you mentioned from back in 2001. We've had people losing children all through, and we have students also losing their friends. All these fears are there. Whenever something like this happens, then they freeze. And how then can we be able to marshal them to the right spot? And then we'll go back to, again, what you are emphasizing on skills, training, the learning, institution staff, students. As soon as they're onboarded, then that should be top priority, that in case of, then this is what we are going to do.
What is this basic training that you would say everyone needs to have, not just in schools, but in also every institution, because fires can happen anywhere. So what basic training should each one of us have, matters fires?
Okay. Good. When it comes to fire safety, we have to look at it institutional level. We are talking about the fire marshals, but also in estates and homes, everyone can be able to learn about fire safety. We have so many centers to train fire safety, starting also with St. John and other institutions. So the issue is this. Once in school, we are talking about, we will start with the teachers. That's the teaching and non-teaching staff, which is very important. We train them. They can be able to create awareness in the school. And also the dorm captain, the students who have a responsibility, they can also be trained. So that forms a team whereby it can respond. Now, apart from that, let's come now to the group awareness. All the students in one place, we are speaking the same language. What does that tell us? In case of a fire, each student knows what to do. And moving away from the schools, come to our estates where we live, still is supposed to be replicated. We have estate awareness, estate trainings, because it can happen anywhere. And also to add on the mentality part of it, when it comes to the young ones, let's not it be for the teachers alone. Parents at home are also supposed to be very careful and also try to see and understand their kids so that they can be able to detect any suspicious behavior, which maybe it has started at school, they are not aware, or maybe a student has got it from home and they have brought it to to school. So even the teachers need to be very careful, and also students. And it is high time that we train and also let the students understand how to report this. So the school administration coming up with a very strong reporting mechanism and ways of detecting some suspicious behaviors. Because someone who is planning an arson, they'll plan for it. So if you don't detect it in good time, it will eventually happen. But now when it happens, the key emphasis is, can we teach our students how to survive? It has happened. Someone has lit a fire while others are asleep. The alarm must be raised. So we have to train them on how to depend on themselves when it comes to such a time. Without such skills, it will be still worrying. So from home to school, from school to home, across.
Cuts across.
Yes.
Let me add something. Apart from the basic life support trainings and, of course, evacuation, the other biggest skill you should have is to speed dial. So, like in case of an emergency, before I even start doing anything, I'll call for help as fast as possible. So you should have our numbers. So, for Red Cross, it's 1199, which is toll-free.
1199.
1199. Of course, we have St. John's. He will give you the numbers. We have fire brigades, and these numbers are not just there to be put on the wall. They are numbers that need continuous engagement. There are stakeholders who need to be engaged continuously. We're talking about the simulation exercise that she was saying that you need to have every single time. Those 2-3 hours, it's not you just doing it as an institution, it's calling those experts to be able to do it. The other thing is also, one thing we need to learn is what we call stakeholder mapping around your institution. Any single time, you need to know what strengths you have around you, because you're within a community. And this one now helps you to always know that I am safe. In case of, I have help 2 minutes away that can be able to support me before the 100-minute person comes in. And that way, we will have triggered the chain of survival and the 1 hour, the golden hour that we normally talk about. So the calling is what matters, because you'll find that in some certain situations, we accuse the responders that they did not get there on time, but ideally, you did not call me on time. So if you call me on time and I get late, then we will be able to say, okay, fine, I didn't do something.
So in case, in the case of school fires, you know, for example, if we look at the case of Utumishi girls, of course, the students, we are assuming, do not have phone, the cell phones. They don't have their phones with them there. So when you talk about the first response being, you know, calling, you know, and there's that number that's a toll-free number, 1199, in case, you know, someone needs to write it down. Who is supposed to make these calls in such a case? You know, we're in school, we're in the dormitory, we were sleeping, we don't have phones. This has happened.
And that's why I was talking about earlier. I'd say that this is one of the pillars that we have is probably having an agreement between community and community being staff who are on duty. Of course, when the students are sleeping, there has to be someone on duty watching over. So we have the matrons, we have the school administration, we have security. So these numbers, these are the persons who are mandated to be able to take care of the students while they are asleep. Like even us in our homes and our estates, we have security personnel. Their job is to ensure that they can detect early enough. And that is where the gap sometimes would be. If the detection is late, then by the time we are getting there, the fire or the incident has gone to the second phase. By the time the responders are arriving, it's on the third phase. So what we're talking about is having the right people with the right numbers based on your assessment of your institution. Who should have it? So if you can be able to do that assessment, which many institutions don't do, you have to work together with all apparatus within the institution. So in this case, in a learning institution, security, and probably the person on duty will being the matron or the administrator or whoever this school has put in place.
Okay. That's one of the common mistakes maybe that are there, you know, late response, you know, to such. So maybe what are some other common mistakes that we can look into when it comes to fire emergencies?
Okay, to add on, when it comes to the fire response, for any institution, what can you do for yourself? That is the question we are supposed to be asking ourselves. Even before the fire brigade or any other responders, arrive at the scene, what can we be to do as an institution? So capacity building the institution itself. So even if when we are doing these drills, what are we doing? We are testing our capability as a learning institution. What can we do? So that gap of before the ambulance, the fire engines get to the scene, what are we doing? Are we just staring at the fire, consuming? So if there's nothing we are doing, of course, everything will be consumed. But the moment we plan ourselves and have good, just the basic incident command systems for the school in times of such a crisis, and we are looking at training a few and having some firefighting equipment, just the simple one. We don't need the very advanced one. So that these security officers who are in school, with the help of even some of the neighbors who are around, they can be able to use them and buy time before the fire brigade arrives. And also look at it, for example, the ambulance. You have the aspect of the ambulances and the fire engines. An ambulance will arrive even in good time. But what have they come to do? To extinguish fire? No. To look at the injured. So if the fire engine delays and there is nothing which is happening, a lot will have happened. And also we are looking at the aspect of life. Is the first thing we need to look at. Property comes way later.
Absolutely.
Yes. Am I safe? So, and I still insist, let's teach our students how to survive in case of a fire.
Yeah. Common mistakes from your point of view?
Well, common mistakes from where I stand sometimes is laxity, whereby we assume that all is okay and we are okay with okay. So which means if everything is fine, then I will leave. That's why you find sometimes in all those incidences that have happened, someone was not where they're supposed to be. So those are common mistakes. So it can either be security, who did not open the gate early enough. It can sometimes be the person who was put in charge of something. So what we normally say is once you know that you're prone to a certain incident and it has recurred in different institutions, it's for you to be able to be prepared early enough to prevent recurrence. Means being at the right place at the right time, ready to do the right thing at the right time.
Yeah. I want us to talk about emergency exits, you know, because I believe this should be mandatory in every infrastructure, every building, you know, every institution, every building out here should have an emergency exit door. And when we're talking about these exit doors, I don't know, I'm not sure, I've not done my research on that, on whether, you know, if I'm in a supermarket, do I know where the emergency door is? You know, something as simple as a supermarket where maybe most of us tend to go. If I'm in the hospital, do I know where the emergency exit door is? And who is responsible in ensuring that everyone gets to know where the emergency doors are in every building?
Okay. So for the emergency exits, you have talked about the supermarkets. It is our responsibility. For example, I've gone shopping, asking the security guard where the exit is. It can be very
every
simple.
Time I'm going in, I should
just for your own safety. Yes, in case of an incident, what am I supposed to do? They're supposed to brief you that. Apart from supermarkets, you have gone in hotels and all that. They always have a manual whereby you can read on how to evacuate in case of an emergency. Now, when it comes to even workplaces, I'll take the schools at the last. When it comes to the workplace, every workplace is supposed to have an exit, depending on the size of the building. So it will determine the number of people in that building, the number of exits, the number of floors going up. So which is supposed to be mandatory. And when you look at it at the workplace, any workplace is supposed to have exits by law. So what does that tell you? That's not a workplace if it doesn't conform to the minimum requirements. Now, let's go to the schools. Looking at some, like, let me use that dormitory as just an example, just to give a view on how we can improve. It is one staircase, it is first floor. So in case it is compromised, the only exit we have, where are we going to use? The windows are grilled. We have nowhere to go. But at the ground floor, we are looking at the windows, in case even the doors are compromised at ground level. But when you go up, we are supposed to have exits. Not only the entry, but also another exit in case of an emergency. Okay, an exit is then supposed to open towards the outside. You push and you go. Of course, we use doors for different reasons. Maybe the school can be under attack, we can lock ourselves inside. But an emergency door, looking at the ends, might have ends, but on the sides, can we have emergency doors? Even if they were not designed at the initial planning, we engineer that, and people come up with external staircase outlets. In case of an emergency, students can rush out very quickly. And specifically for those ones, they only need to open towards the outside. Once it latches, no one can access the dormitory from outside. So we only need to push. We don't even need a lock from inside. We only need to push the bar and move outside seamlessly.
Yeah. And it should be mandatory.
It is mandatory.
You see,
it is mandatory.
Looking at the risk reduction rules, we are talking about every workplace or workroom is supposed to have firefighting equipment, the fire exits, and everything. But now, when it comes to the schools, we have still a guidance on the same. So can we look at that guidance? And there is a provision. So the big gap, we are not discussing something which has never been discussed. All these issues have been discussed, but now the implementation part and following, that's where the issue is. There is nothing new, by the way.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah, we're saying it while smiling, but it's so unfortunate that there's nothing new. These are things that have been happening, so we should not be experiencing the very same thing year in, year out, decades in. It's so unfortunate. So as we almost come to a conclusion of this, I think it would be right for us to wind this up with just the lessons that should be drawn from all these incidences that have happened, hoping that this is the last time this is happening. So what lessons are we drawing from all this?
Well, first of all is to ask the public to please get trained on basic life-saving skills. Basic first aid. Life-saving skills is very important. Number two, I'll pick from the discussion about evacuations. Whenever you walk into a building, it has been made easy nowadays. Look for signages, written exit. It has to be labeled very clearly by law. If you get into an institution, there has to be a floor plan at the entrance that shows you that this is the direction to the exit, this is the direction to ABC, so that you can know where you're headed even as you're running. The third thing is that we need to have proper infrastructure placed in our buildings. That is, if it is fire prone, then we need to have fire suppression systems put in place. We have so many technical companies that can do that for you, or even an assessment done by our county government fire brigade. And they can be able to come and tell you that this is a place where you need to improve. Have a phased approach to strengthening your institution, because it is a lot of money, and if you can be able to have someone to work with you. We have many institutions like ourselves who can always come to you. We have learning institutions, we have training institutes that can be able to come and guide you in supporting the learners or the students on how to do certain interventions whenever they have an incident. The last thing is also to strengthen our mindset, whereby you've talked about from home, we've talked about from home. Parents need to take their place in terms of teaching their students or children on how to have basic life support. And of course, we have to work with the learning institutions or other institutions across the country on how to strengthen capacities on emergency response, not only fire, but many others that we normally face as a country.
All right, I'll take your final remarks on the same.
Yes, two of them. Now, the first one, I'll insist on, can we give a chance to our students to survive in case of an emergency? Let the school administration ensure this happens. Yes. The worst scenario case, I'm alone. What am I supposed to do to evacuate? Let's not take it as a group activity. The students will come out safe. Let each one of them know how to do it. And also another thing I'll also emphasize, I refer to Endarasha. After Endarasha, the schools, some of the schools were closed down until they came up to standard or what was required when it comes to fire safety. I'll also urge the Ministry of Education and other agencies to ensure that happens. It's just to happen, because every day is the same. It's okay. Let's do, unfortunately, let the fire start, but can the students survive? We are not saying school fire should be free, but even if they start, can we have our students survive in school? And that is through enforcement of what is already existing, is only that we are neglecting. in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really think we should put an emphasis on the fire suppression systems across all institutions, and right now we are specifically looking at schools. Just schools ensuring they have this, just them ensuring they have this, and that, I believe, that is what you mean by ensuring our students survive in case of this. So even the tanks, because maybe the fire engines may be far away, the fire brigade team may be far away from where the incident is happening. So what to do right now before that? I like the idea of the fire suppression system, the tanks, just have something. You mentioned it's around 20,000 shillings.
The 30-meter house drill standard, elevated water tank and a small pump to project water.
Yeah.
So
I think
someone
we should really
security
look into that.
can be extinguish that fire even before the fire brigade arrives. And that's after every student has evacuated. Now, the teaching of the students how to survive is now basically how to evacuate. I'm trapped. I'm at first floor. Even the exits are blocked. We have the windows. We have the bed sheets. We have so many ways to improvise. I can go down. Someone can reach from outside through that and help.
Yeah, because now students from this incident, they were jumping, so therefore also hurting themselves. There's the bed sheets technique.
There are so many tricks, and that's why maybe the last one, I encourage all the learning institutions to join the safety clubs, and they are taught so much about safety.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. We have to end this conversation, but thank you so much. It has been really insightful, and I am sure that our viewers have gotten to pick a lot from this conversation. One more time, I want to send my heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families from the fire incident that just happened at the Utumishi Girls